listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our April 20th meeting. And before we adjourn to closed session, is there anybody that would like to address the board? Mrs. Armstrong.
Yes, we have one, Michelle Orgon.
Very good. Hi, Michelle.
Good evening, President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. It has been a fine and exciting week for everyone with students, and we are excited that we have an MOU that we are bringing to our members with regards to the return of students. And we are excited that Lee and LUSD bargaining teams came to some agreements on this MOU, and we are presenting it now to our teachers, and voting will start taking place Wednesday to ratify this MOU. We hope that with this first hurdle done, that you give direction to the bargaining teams for our next mediation session over the 2019-20 contract. We hope that the direction that you give shows the respect and value you have for your teachers. As you look at all different types of compensation, both monetarily and in language, we ask that you really rally around the whys as to why Leah has asked for particular language that has been brought forward to the table before, and hope that the direction you give and us coming to the table on the 26th will bring a fair contract for the 2019-20 school year. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Michelle. All right. If there's no further comments, we will adjourn to close session. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our April 20th school board meeting. The real Mr. Nava is muted as opposed to the Mr. Nava imposter, Mr. Knack said. So, but anyway, yes. We will begin with the roll call. All board members are present in the room tonight. So welcome. Thank you all for attending. We are also joined by a student representative. That's Haley S. Corpiso from Ronald McNair High School. Absolutely one of our favorite student representatives. In fact, Haley, you are such a favorite of ours. Would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Hi, yes, I can.
Thank you, Haley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Haley. Very nice job.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And we're looking forward to your student report here in just a little bit. As always, we are joined by the executive assistant to the board, Mrs. Michelle Armstrong. Welcome, Michelle. And we have our IT tech extraordinaire, Andrew, as always, running the entire show. So welcome, Andrew. Thank you again, both of you, for helping us out here tonight. A report out from closed session. Mr. Neely motioned and Ms. McFarland second, and the board approved the placement of 2020-21 non-public school new student number 58 by the vote of 7-0. And that's all to report from closed session. Moving on, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Members of the board would like to share with you some exciting news from Lodi Middle School. They earned third place in the H2O Hackathon this past weekend. The H2O Hackathon is a community-supported event that taps into the technological and problem-solving skills of students to help find solutions to the state's water issues. 35 teams of competitors in middle school, high school, and college divisions had 6 hours to build an application that could help protect waterways from harmful blooms. At the end of the day, one team from each division was named the winner and received a cash award. And third place went to Lodi Middle for $500. So congratulations to Lodi Middle School for taking third place in that event. Also want to thank our Nutrition Services Department. They are addressing concerns that have come up about food service. One issue being access to food from our distance learner students, and they have added a site. McNair High School is now a distribution pickup site. So that's 3 sites where distance learners can come and pick up their meals, grab and go style. We know that there are some still concerns about those who live out in remote areas having trouble getting to locations. And I just want to say that our Nutrition Services Department is doing everything they possibly can to get food to students to make it as easy as possible. But we do understand that there are some restrictions for families, limitations for families. As you know, we are a very large district in terms of geography and cover 250 square miles. We're one of the largest in the state. So to have sites in all our locations is extremely challenging with the limited staff for nutrition services. So they are doing all they can and want to thank them for that and for being flexible. But we do know that there are still some issues out there. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to put those sites at every school just because of manpower and the effort it takes to do that. Also, they are working.
Dr. Washer, just to interrupt, for those listening at home, you said Ronald McNair High is one of 3, the other 2, of course, being
Lodi Middle, and Delta Sierra.
Excellent. Thank you. So
Thank you. Also want to share that our nutrition services staff are doing an outstanding job trying to navigate how the health pandemic has impacted this department. And we don't always see that because they do such a good job. But I do want to share that things like supply demand, lack of food supply, transportation issues with the shortage nationally of truck drivers is impacting deliveries to our district, and they're having to adjust very quickly. The switch from distance learning to all in person, they're adjusting very quickly. So you may hear concerns out there about things not being what's on the menu, or there being some disappointing lunches at times. But I just want to share that our staff is doing everything they possibly can to navigate this challenging situation. And a huge thank you to Nancy Rustamilli and her team for doing so. Thank you.
very nice report. Thank you, Dr. Washer. Okay. Looks like we're on the way to the start of the season for board recognitions. And, you know, this is one of the great things about being a board member, that we do get to recognize the many great accomplishments in our district. So our first board recognition tonight is the Elementary Science Olympiad recognition. And I believe we have Mr. McGregor to tee this up. Mr. McGregor?
Good evening, President Freitas, Dr. Washer, members of the board.
Good evening, Scott.
Nice to be here with you guys. Thank you for the warm welcome. The County Science Olympiad for elementary schools took place on the week of March 8th through March 11th. 3 schools from Lodi Unified participated, including 2 teams from Reese Elementary, 1 team from Oakwood Elementary, and 2 teams from Elkhorn School. Dr. Sana Abdulgader, Elkhorn's Elementary Science Olympiad head coach, is available this evening and has agreed to read the names of Elkhorn's blue team who finished in 2nd place. She will also note the students' individual awards. I would like to thank Dr. Abdulgader for her leadership and invite her to introduce and acknowledge the students at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Scott. Dr. Abdulgader, welcome to our meeting.
Good evening. Thank you. I hope you can all hear me.
We hear you loud and clear. I
Wonderful.
don't know whatever your setup is. You're gonna have to let Andrew know, because it's it sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. It's an iPhone earpod, but I'm glad it's working. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. My name is Sana Dradar Abdulgader. I'm a co-head coach for Elkhorn Elementary Science Olympiad teams. I am thrilled that we are recognizing Elkhorn Elementary's hardworking students who earned 1st through 3rd place medals at this year's unique Science Olympiad tournament. Because of the pandemic, the County Office of Education was forced to limit Science Olympiad to students to study events only. So not only were our students engaged in distance learning through Elkhorn, but also study events through distance learning as well. So typically students only compete in 1 study event, but here at Elkhorn, our students, most of them competed in 2 study events. And so you can imagine this was no small feat for our 4th through 6th grade students. We're very proud of our young scholars. Through their commitment to weekly practices over a period of 4 to 5 months, our scholars demonstrated grit, responsibility, and integrity. Blue team members who earned 2nd place as an overall team in alphabetical are as follows: Rayanne Abdulgader, who also earned 1st place in Mystery Science and 1st place in Starry Starry Night. Zakaria Abdulgader, who also earned 1st place in Starry Starry Night and 1st place in Whether or Not. Jacob Camello. Ava Cow, who also earned 1st place in Whether or Not. Aaron Chung. Ethan Fong. Daniel Greedy Pap, who also earned 1st place in Rockhound. Marinda Toon, who also earned 1st place in Mystery Science and 2nd place in Dynamic Planet. Jasmine Lime. Abram Para. Stephen Quach, who also earned 1st place in Mystery Science and 2nd place in Dynamic Planet. Ruhani Sharma, who also earned 1st place in Rockhound. Congratulations once again to our Elkhorn Blue team, and a quick shout out to our incredible parents who volunteered their time and energy to make Science Olympiad possible for our students. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Abdul Gader, for that wonderful presentation, and congratulations to all the students. When I have questions about Science Olympiad, I go to our two board members, Mr. Heberly and Ms. McFarland. So, Mr. Heberly, you have some comments?
Well, it's Science Olympiad. Of course I have comments. First of all, congratulations to all the Lodi Unified teams that participated. Even if you don't feel that you did the greatest job, or that you didn't place, or any of those kinds of things, don't worry about it. You still learned a lot. And to those who did place, congratulations. It's not an easy task. Being involved in Science Olympiad for, well, let's just say 30 plus years. Now, granted, I'm not a teacher, but I married one. And when you marry a teacher who's involved in Science Olympiad, you kind of get sucked into the tornado. And so I've been involved in it for a long time. I love it. It's great. You kids did a great job. I'm very proud of you. So keep it up. I always tell the kids, science is everything. Congratulations.
Oh, very nice comments, Mr. Heberly. Vice President McFarland.
Thank you, President Freitas. Well, congratulations to Elkhorn students and to all of our teams that participated. I was a head coach for Elkhorn for many years of Science Olympiad, and I probably had just as much fun as the students did. And the one thing I used to say is it's not about game day, and that's what we used to call competition day. It's about the road that leads you to game day. And it doesn't matter whether you get the medal or not. It's that you had fun in the process. The end result on the day of the awards is just the culmination of what you put into it. And if you didn't like how you turned out, I used to say, then work a little harder in the off season. That's what athletes do. And our Science Olympiad is a sport of the mind. And so you don't see a football player go out and just show up on Friday night and throw a pass. You don't see a swimmer just jump off the blocks and swim, at the meet. They practice. And so your competition for the year might be done, but that doesn't mean you can stop studying. You can still read and go online and look at things and visit places as they open. The other thing is thank you to the parents and all the teachers that participate. The teachers in those classrooms, and I can tell you, having coached high school also, those standards for those classrooms directly tie into those events in Science Olympiad. So your science teachers, your English teachers, your social studies teachers, all those things start to blend together. And information from Science Olympiad will help you in a variety of ways as you go through life. So just remember, every day is an opportunity to get a little nugget of knowledge that might edge you out for that next person in competition. So congratulations to all of you.
And I couldn't agree more with both of my board members' comments. Very nice, Vice President McFarland. What a great way to represent our district, and what a great accomplishment. So thank you, Mr. McGregor, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Abou-Gader, and thank you, kids, parents, teachers from Elkhorn, and everyone who participated. This is quite an accomplishment, and we're very, very happy to be recognizing it here tonight. Mr. McGregor, any parting shots, or?
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. No, it's a great opportunity to recognize the kids. Having had teams participate from Elkhorn and Vinewood back when I was a principal, I know how much it means to the students, how hard they work. And I appreciate the board taking time to recognize these fine students tonight. So thank you very much.
Doctor, last words? All right. Right, thank you. Thank you and congratulations, Elkhorn School Blue Team, on your finish in the county competition. But wait, there's more. We have recognition for the high school teams that placed in the Science Olympiad competition. And here to tee it up is Assistant Superintendent Jeff Palmquist.
Thank you, President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. We are very excited about our high school teams. the foundation that the elementary and middle school science Olympiad teams lay is built upon when they get into high school. And anybody who knows anything about science Olympiad in the region knows that Lodi Unified is a true powerhouse. It really is one of the outstanding things about our district. So tonight we are thrilled that as we introduce teams that placed in the top 3, 2 of those teams are from Lodi Unified. So we'll be recognizing the teams from Tokay High School and from Lodi High School. To introduce his coach and the team from Tokay High School, I believe we have Eric Sandstrom on the line.
Hi, Principal Sandstrom.
Good
Thank you for
evening,
joining us
President
tonight.
Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer, and thank you, Mr. Palmquist. As always, it's great to, as Mr. McGregor said, recognize our students and everything else. And the things that Ms. McFarland and Mr. Heverly noted about Science Olympiad. It's especially wonderful that over the many years, and thank you to our former teachers and staff, and Ms. Heverly in particular, and others on our campus, working with our parents and the great coaches, it has become a tradition that's really set high expectations. And I do think that translates directly into the rigor and level of accomplishment in classrooms as well. And that's wonderful to see. But it does take an awful lot of work, both on the students' part, on our coaches' part, on parents and volunteers' part, especially in a COVID year when we're not going into the gym to practice some things or having the classrooms available and stuff, and trying to do a lot of this either over Zoom meetings or distance meetings and being spaced apart and other things, just not the easiest thing to do. And yet our students, our parents, our coaches at our school and the other schools, they managed to do it and do it very well. So, and again, I apologize because I can't see who's here or not. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Kiana Cox. She was our coach for our team and has worked with our students again, immeasurable hours, time, effort, love, blood, sweat, and probably some tears as well. But Dr. Cox, if you're there, if you could introduce our team and talk a little bit about the Tokay High Science Olympiad.
Thank you, Eric. Very nice. Hi, Dr. Cox.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, we
Well,
had technical difficulties.
you know that happens so rarely in the Zoom world.
Of course it does, yes. Well, thank you. I did not know if we were going to be speaking at all, but just exactly what Mr. Sandstrom said was it was a difficult year to be able to try to pull this off. First of all, we lost our 2 great head coaches, and so it was difficult to try to do this new and to try to get all the students together. So for our team, we lost a lot of students, we lost a lot of coaches, and everybody stepped up. So I wanted to especially thank all of the students who ended up coaching their own events, coaching their, all of their team members, and just pulling together that we were able to get our 2nd place finish and really, really doing it together and working really hard for it. So I appreciate all that work.
Very nice, Dr. Cox. We actually have time in tonight's meeting for you to identify the members of your team. And
Okay.
why don't we give them a shout out tonight? And if you have it, the awards that they won.
Okay, great. All right, let's see. I may have to do it by event. So for anatomy and physiology, we took 4th place with Corey Smink and Melissa Para. For astronomy, we took 1st place with Emma Jellin and Matthew Goebel. For Chem Lab, we took 1st place with Emma Jellin and Kendra Gowdy. For Circuit Lab, we took 4th place, Annika Hoschelt and Ben Goebel. In Code Busters, we took 5th place with Ken Lee, Kendra Gowdy, and Matthew Goebel. Designer Jeans, we took 2nd place with Annika Hoschelt and Melissa Para. In Detector Building, we took 3rd place with Mark Oshida. In Digital Structures, we took 4th place. digital structures was, Marco Shida and Rebecca Peters. In disease detectives, we took second place with Annika Hoschel and Corey Smink. In dynamic planet, we took third place with Ken Lee and Mattia Amato. In experimental and data design and analysis, that was Ben Goebel, Hannah Hoschelt, and Kendra Gowdy. In forensics, we took second place with Emma Jelen and Mattia Amato. Fossils was fourth place with Ken Lee and Rebecca Peters. Geologic mapping was second place with Ben Goebel and Matthew Goebel. Gravity vehicle was first place with Marco Shida and Matthew Goebel. Helicopters was fifth place with Hannah Hoschelt and Corey Smink. Machines was third place with Annika Hoschelt and Marco Shida. Ornithology was second place with Hannah Hoschelt and Rebecca Peters. Protein modeling was second place with Corey Smink, Kendra Gowdy, and Mattia Amato. Sound of music was first place with Ben Goebel and Melissa Parra. Water quality was third place with Hannah Hoschelt and Ken Lee. And Write It, Cat It was eighth place with Annika and Hannah Hoschelt.
That is absolutely fantastic. Great job all, and great job, Dr. Cox, in teaching that. One of our board members knows a little bit about Tokyo High, having taught there for 30 years or more. Mr. Porter, you have some comments?
For years, so I'm going to let her have the final say on it.
Well, you get the first say. How's that?
Well, I do know that the parents have put in a tremendous amount of volunteer time, and so do some of the teachers, but it's the kids when it really comes down to it. They have to put in the extra effort. I was always admired at the parents and the teachers that were involved in this. I never had time really to step in because I was coaching after school. But it is another type of event that just adds to the students' overall well-being and development. And these kids have really put in a lot of time, as Mr. Heberly would know, and Ms. McFarland. And that's the part that I find very rewarding, that they're willing to put in that time and have that passion to excel, especially the parents, that just really going beyond what they do at work and so forth, and adding in and just helping the kids in their daily lives. So I'll pass over to Ms. McFarland.
Vice President McFarland, very nice, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Dr. Cox, thank you for stepping up. I know it took a lot of arm twisting over 2 years and a lot of begging on our Disneyland trip for me telling you could do it. Thank you to your husband for also stepping up, because this is not a one man or one woman job. It takes a village. Thank you to the students that hung in during COVID. I know it was not ideal. I helped where I could, not nearly as much as I would have liked to have helped. But it's a passion that it either grabs you or it doesn't. And for the students that stuck it out, I appreciate it. I also know you didn't have a lot of seniors this year. And for anyone who doesn't know Science Olympiad, there's a flow to those teams. There are 7 seniors and you're constantly building. And everyone will say that school has such smart students. And I always say, you don't put all the smart students at one school. There are brilliant students at all of our high schools. It's how you mass your team. And it's the coaches and the stamina that you can make through the season. And it's just like a sports team. You start out with conditioning way back in September, and you got to get through the dog days of practice right around December, January, and it gets real tough. Senioritis kicks in. Freshmen are overwhelmed, and to your freshmen and sophomores that I know made it up to purple this year, congratulations. You got that monkey off your back, and we want to see some more gold medals and some overachieving next year. Congratulations to all of you, and to your seniors. I will miss you. I've watched you since 4th grade participate. You were teammates that I got to coach and work with for many years, and congratulations on your next endeavors.
Very nice, Vice President McFarland, and congratulations. Other comments for the board for Tokay? Mr. Palmquist, Tokay isn't the only high school that competed. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we are very pleased to have Coach Lisa Ng from Lodi High School here. Lodi High School also did very well in the Science Olympiad, and We're hoping that Coach Ng can tell us a little bit more about that and recognize the students from Lodi High School.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kosk. We may have some more comments for you if you want to hang on for just a minute. And Coach Ng, welcome to tonight's meeting. And congratulations on the strong finish.
Thank you so much. I think I'm off mute now. It wouldn't unmute for a minute there, but you know, it was a very, very different year, as was stated. At the same time, we have been very blessed in the continuity of the team. We had multiple seniors that stuck with us through COVID, through senioritis, through everything. And so the first thing I'd like to do is just acknowledge our seniors. So Luke Fugate, Luke Fugate, Alex Abelar, Chris Zalinardo, Jack Isola, Anne-Marie Van Meter, Morgan Hutchison. These students make it all worthwhile. All of these students do. But some of these kids have been with us for 4 years straight. To watch a student grow from a freshman to a senior and to get to interact with them for all 4 years, not only in a science atmosphere, but in a team atmosphere, has just been a phenomenal thing. And I'm so blessed that we did not lose that this year and that we didn't lose out on the chance to have this. So I really appreciate the County Office of Education for continuing this, regardless of how difficult it was and how much effort had to go into this. And I have to say, our County Office of Education is just a phenomenal group of people. So for them to make this happen, thank you to them, and thank you to our students. So those were our seniors. We have Luke Fugate, who is the captain, as I said, a senior. Hattie Ellison, our assistant captain. Maggie Fugate, our communications director. Shannon Castile, who is our treasurer. Alex Abelar, Chris Zalinardo, Messina Olson, Kyle Huang, Eli Plath, who Eli is a freshman who came to us last year as a middle school student and participated on our freshman team as an 8th grader. Anne-Marie Van Meter, Jack Isola, Morgan Hutchison, Ava Acevedo, Rohan Valdez, and Charlie Claxton. Those are the team members that helped us to get to 3rd place in regionals and to go on and participate in state. But they didn't get there on their own. And as much effort as those kids put in, our coaches need to be acknowledged for the time and effort that they pour into this program. The number of meetings that were held via Zoom for hours on end, and in prior years in the home of our head parent coach. So I would like to take a minute and to recognize our parent coaches. Rich Osmankowski, who has been coaching for more years than I have been working in Lodi Unified School District. His students started Science Olympiad as very young children, and he followed them all the way up. And when his last child graduated high school, he didn't leave. He stuck with us and worked even harder if that's possible. Karen Tomensager, whose child also graduated, and she stayed on and threw herself even harder into the process to make sure that these kids had this opportunity. Irene Abelar, Mary Ellison, Mitchell Abelar, Dave Valdez, Sharon and Emily Sprague. Emily was a student of mine when I first started at Lodi High School. And as she went through high school and did Science Olympiad, graduated, went off to college, got her degree in nursing, and decided it was time to pay it back, and came back to coach. Dante Levantini, same thing. A student of mine who went through Science Olympiad, loved it with all his heart, and when he was done with university, decided it was to pay it back and to come back and coach. Heidi Plath, Audrey Fugate, and Bill Hutchison. And those are our parent coaches. our student coaches, our captain, Luke Fugate, not only our captain, not only a senior, he coached 2 events. Shannon Castile, not only our treasurer, she also coached an event. Christopher Zalinardo, a senior who stuck with us for all 4 years of his high school career and coached 2 events. And Kyle Huang, who coached an event for us. Those students, as they struggled through Zoom classes and homework at night and all the difficulties that everybody else struggled through, and then turned around and gave of their time to coach events on top of that. And that is why teachers want to do this with the kids, because these are the most phenomenal students that you will ever get to interact with. And it just has done my heart so much good to be able to bring them together to even get this photo. Just meant the world to them and to me. And we were minus a few members who are still on DL, but if you could have seen how excited these kids were to be able to get back to being together, even for that short time for a meeting after school. So thank you for the fact that we're able to meet and hold clubs again. Thank you for the acknowledgement of these students, because they have worked tirelessly for this. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Lisa, that is absolutely great. And thank you for recognizing not only the coaches and the students, but the County Office of Education. They do need to be given a ton of credit. They could have thrown in the towel and said this was too hard to do, and I'd like to recognize them for do that. And I also like to point out that I think exactly what you said, having alumni return to an organization is definitely a sign of success, and no secret to your success. Mr. Porter has some comments, but Mr. Porter?
Yes, Miss Ng, how are you? Are you still there, Miss Ng?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you.
I have a quick question for you. As board, what can we do to support this wonderful program? Do you think we should expand the number of periods in the day, go from 0 to 7, and maybe offer this as a course?
I would love to see it offered as an elective just within the already existing structure. We've had students ask for that before who said they would happily have given up one of their other electives to do this.
And do you think that would work well at the other high schools as well to encourage more participation?
I do, I think so, especially at the high schools that don't currently have a team. And the high schools that are on block schedule, I think that would be a phenomenal option.
So you think maybe extending the day might help, going 0 to 7 to add it in, maybe so they could have more electives to choose from?
I don't think it's really necessary to add an additional elective. I think the kids have that period right now that the ones that truly want this would probably choose to do that. But I think that having it offered as a course would be extremely helpful. And that's something that we've looked at in the past, but it's always kind of gone to the back burner.
Okay, well, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I'm very honored to be on this board with 2 graduates of Lodi High School, one of whom is very proud of his graduation, even though he was not in Science Olympiad. Mr. Neely, would you like to recognize the Lodi team?
Yeah, and I tell you what, this type of club, this type of competition just brings out the absolute best in our students. It's incredible the work that they put out. I coached a mock trial team at a high school, and you just got to get into it. And I know it's funny too. Is I go over to Mr. Heberly's house on the weekend, and there'd be kids everywhere. They were in the garage, they were in the backyard, they were all doing science. I think I was Science Bowl, right? Yeah, but a lot of them do both, right? Anyway, it was what this does for our kids is just fantastic, and I love the idea. As a matter of fact, we made it a class there at Able, and I think that's a great idea. I think we should try to move away. Look, Lodi Unified has a history with Science Bowl and Science Olympiad, and I think we should take advantage of that, and we should make it a class. So anyway, congratulations, Lodi High. if you'd have had this back in 1970, maybe I would have done better. I don't know. Probably not. But thank you very much. You guys did a great job.
I think you did just fine, Mr. Neely. Vice President McFarland.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you to Mrs. Ng. I know how many hours you put in. Seen you at many, many, many competitions, and I know you give it all to your students, and I'm sure they are very appreciative of all that you do. I also want to say that over the years of coaching at Tokay, we loved the competition with Lodi High. We used to always wonder what you were doing, how you were doing it, who was studying. And I think it's just like a sporting event, like I've said several times tonight. I appreciate the level of competition that you bring to the tournaments. And I appreciate that your students work so hard and that you have so much support from the school and the district. And I think anything that we can do as a district to support, I think that would be wonderful. In the years to come. But thank you for all that you do for that program, and you are an integral part of their success.
Very nice, Vice President McFarland. Other comments from the board? Mr. Palmquist, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think everything that should have been said has been said. We're just so proud of our students, our staff, their families that have stepped up. And there's just all good when it comes to Science Olympiad. For those of you who've been to those competitions, you know what I'm talking about. It is just a wonderful thing. So we're very proud of our schools, all of our students who participated. We're very proud of you. Thank you very much.
Very nice, Mr. Palmquist, and all of our high school Science Olympiad competitors, and Mr. McGregor and Mr. Palmquist, whether elementary or high school, they will receive a certificate suitable for framing from the board, recognizing them for their participation and their great accomplishments. So yes, and we thank the district for making those available, and we very excited for everybody. I think not only in this time, but in all times, it's so exciting that each of you were able to not only to accomplish this, but do so well in it. So thank you very much for representing the board and the district in this great accomplishment. We have yet another recognition tonight, and it is National Assistant Vice Principals Week. And to read tonight's proclamation, the clerk of the board, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, President Freitas. This is a proclamation from the Lodi Unified School District. This is a National Assistant Vice Principals Week, whereas the week of April 5th through the 9th, 2021 was designated National Assistant Vice Principals Week, and whereas an assistant vice principal as a member of a school administration interacts with many sectors of the school community, including support staff, instructional staff, students, and parents, and whereas the day-to-day logistical operations of a school require assistants, vice principals to monitor and address facility needs, attendance, transportation issues, and scheduling challenges, as well as to supervise extra and co-curricular events, and whereas assistant/vice principals are entrusted with help to maintain an inviting, safe, an orderly school environment that supports the growth and achievement of each and every student by nurturing positive peer relationships, recognizing student achievement, mediating conflicts, analyzing behavioral patterns, providing interventions, and when necessary, taking disciplinary actions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in honor of all the service of all elementary, middle, and high school assistant and vice principals, and to recognize the importance of their leadership so that every child has access to a high quality education, and to celebrate school leader accomplishments, the Lodi Unified School District Board of Education formally recognized assistant and vice principals and thanks them for providing outstanding service. This is adopted by the Lodi Unified School District Board of Education this 20th day of April 2021. This is signed by our president, the Honorable Ron Freitas, Lodi Unified School District.
Very nice, Mr. Porter. Ms. Armstrong, do we have a representative for the vice principals? We do not. Mr. Neely, you have a little familiarity with assistant principals, is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Yeah, I do. I tell you, I've got some really good friends that are vice principal. One of my best friends is a vice principal, and she actually serves at 2 different schools, which is a shame that we do that to our vice principals. That's tough. And you know, you want to find out how important a vice principal is? You take it away from a school and you listen to that principal. All right, it's crazy. They do so much, and what do? Just about everything there. You know, so I'm very, very proud of our vice principals. I am going to use this opportunity to also say I think we should reevaluate how we assign vice principals. It's not just based on the number of students, it's based on the workload that happens in that particular school. Some of our Title I schools, there is so much paperwork that needs to be done that you need a full-time VP there. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that. But anyway, thank you guys for everything you do for Lodi Unified. And
Yes.
Principals, you need to take your vice principals out for lunch this week.
I got to tell you, you can be on that soapbox any day, Mr. Neely. Mr. Nava, you've had some experience with assistant principals. You have a few comments?
Of course, by golly, actually, they're important. I remember you and I were taking a trip. You asked me about what assistant principal is and what a vice principal is. Vice principal is right behind the principal, does anything that when he's not there. Assistant principals handle the big things, the discipline of the school and other things, of course, other things that they have adjunct duties that they do. Supervise football games, like you see them over there last night or 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago at McNair. You saw them at Bear Creek. They all greet you there and welcome people and all that kind of stuff. So they're very important. And I want to make sure that these people get the kudo on this because it's such an important job. And I agree with George. We need to reassign people where those people are really needed. And like you said, the load is important. Thank you.
Very nice comments, Mr. Nava. Mr. Knack, do you have some comments for our assistant principals?
Well, keep it real short. Anybody who's been involved in education quickly learns who the assistant principals are. May only see the principal when you interview for a job, but all the assistant principals and the vice principals are in fact the unsung heroes of that admin staff. So way to go, guys.
Very well said from the board. Other comments from the board? Vice President McFarland.
Thank you, President Freitas. I'll just reiterate a couple of things I said yesterday to some of the vice principals. Your patience, your leadership, your stamina, your awareness about what's important on a day-to-day basis. Thank you. Thank you is such a simple little word, but in this case, it's meant. And I don't know how some of the sites would work without you. I especially want to thank you for the schedules that you did. I can't imagine the feat that you did in the number of days that you had and the mounting number of students. I'm sure most of you the vice principals have not recovered. So I want to say thank you for that, especially for our students, because they reap the benefits of it, which is exactly what vice principals do. They do what's best for the students on a regular basis. So thank you. And I'm hoping the following year will be a little quieter for you.
Very, very good hopes. And I couldn't second all the comments from the board about this. Assistant principals, you definitely set the tone, the professionalism and the attitude on your campus. And we cannot thank you enough for the amazing job that you do. And Sanava and I have come in contact with you at many sporting events. We also see, all the board members see you when we go to our campuses. And your professionalism and just camaraderie and is very much appreciated. So congratulations on Assistant Principal, Vice Principal Week. Very well deserved. And we are looking forward to seeing what you all can do next. Our next recognition, I would like to combine with our report item, which is the return to in-person instruction. No small accomplishment for this district. And I would actually challenge that this may be completely unprecedented in the history of Lodi Unified, that we were ever faced with such an obstacle, and that we were able to overcome so many different challenges, turn it into so many different opportunities, and to serve our community, our kids, and every member of the Lodi Unified family in such an outstanding way that was able to return. And I usually we would keep this report item, but I believe that this accomplishment by everyone, and that's why we're going to recognize every single member of the Lodi family tonight for making this happen. Dr. Washer, cannot be stated enough. This was absolutely amazing. If you think about the throes of where we were a year ago, closing our schools, and to turn this around and to have kids back on our campuses as April 12th was it was a completely stellar, amazing event, and it cannot be stated enough in my book. So I'm going to, you have a short presentation, I believe. So why don't we begin there, and then we'll finish with the recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Yes, the short presentation. And I want to start off by thanking the board for your direction, your vision, and your consistent message. From the very beginning, you said that the most important thing was to have all students back in school full-time as soon as possible with safety measures in place. And you held to that throughout this whole entire pandemic. And because of you and because of your direction and your vision, we have students in our schools, and you can go on any campus and just hear and see the joy that they bring to the campus, and how happy they are, and how well our staff are serving the needs of our students. So I'd like to just give you a brief update on where we are. I have some information about the county tier status. This is on the state website. What's presented here on the document is from April 13th, and numbers have gone down a little bit from today's posting. The case rate is now 8.2. The adjusted case rate is now 7.7. The positivity rate is now 3.0. And the health equity rate is now 3.3. So we're going in the right direction. We are still in red, but the numbers are improving. Right. And then just very quickly, I know everybody knows about the announcement from the governor that he's going beyond the blueprint, and the tier system is set to go away on June 15th if some conditions are met. And I've outlined the conditions there. That's straight from the website. I won't go into that, but hopefully those will be met, and we'll be on to a different way of doing this on June 16th. So next, I'd like to have some of our cabinet members give you a brief update from their departments on how things are going, especially out at the school sites. So I'm going to ask Scott McGregor to give a brief report from the elementary division.
Thank you, Dr. Washer, President Freitas, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. It has been so great to have kids back on campus. I'm so proud of our site leaders and the work that they have done. In talking with them at our last principals meeting at the end of last week, we were reviewing things that have happened, things that are happening. And one of the special things I asked of them is to provide me feedback with things that, you know, they feel are going well and they're so proud of. So a couple of highlights. They wanted to make it known that they really appreciate the work from the business services department. The picnic tables have been paramount. to making sure that the students are properly distanced during lunch times. The hand washing stations have been so critical to making sure that hands are clean with all students before and after recesses and lunch times. And the PPE provided to all staff and students has just been great and so welcome. So they're very appreciative of business services in that respect. Also, the overtime that has been provided for the custodial staff to make sure that things are clean. Paraprofessionals and classified staff have stepped up in so many different ways, providing help throughout the school day. They just could not say enough about the paraprofessionals and the work that they've offered during this return to school. Office staff has been great. The playground monitors are just working their tails off, making sure that kids are being responsible and safe. And also the custodial response team for any extra help cleaning that they have provided was noted by the principals as well. They also noted the teachers. They said they've stepped up and made the return successful in so many different ways, continuing to work hard, balancing in-person instruction and the distance learners they have. The principals were very complimentary of the consistent and diligent work of the teachers. They also wanted to point out the students. They're so happy to see the students return, and they said, they are just embracing the whole mask wearing, and they're appreciative of that. And they said it's been great to hear the students complimenting the teachers, letting them know how great it is to be back in the classroom and get that immediate feedback from their teachers. So it's another thing the principals have noticed as they visited classrooms. And finally, they wanted to give a special shout out to the GOT kids who've provided water bottles and flying discs. Those have been a really welcome addition to a number of the school sites. And also there's been some board members that have gotten out to the school sites. And I just want you to know, those of you that have been able to work that into your busy schedules, it has meant the world to the site leaders. And I know the teachers appreciate too when they see you out on the campus supporting the work that they've done in preparation for this monumental task. So I hope that's helpful. And it's just so great to be able to see the good things that are happening at the school, and that this hard work and preparation is clearly paid off, and things are going well. So thank you very much for the time, President Freitas.
Thank you, Scott. Jeff, how do things go at secondary?
Thank you, President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. It has been a real thrill to go to the sites across this district this past week and see students and teachers and staff doing what they do best. And the first stop I had on Monday morning was at Millswood Middle School. And Principal Lindsay showed me some of the things they had planned. We talked to some students, and as I was leaving in the second row of cars coming in, a window rolled down. It was a mother and her daughter, and the daughter said, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me where the middle school is?" And I pointed to the school and I said, "It's right there's your school, it's right there, and the students are lining up. If Mom, you can drop her off and she can get in line." And it really struck me how many of our students hadn't even seen their school. And so to be able to go to those sites and see kids making connections in different ways, it truly was a beautiful thing. There are so many people that need to be commended. I'm trying to compile just the sheer magnitude of changes that our staff, our administrators, our counselors, and teachers endured. Over half the requests for distance learning came in after March 30th. One school reports 2,500 course changes in that time. 2,500 course changes that counselors and teachers and administrators and parents need to collaborate on. And so as people are working through that and trying to get everybody where they belong, it is just a tremendous effort, and it really does take a team and a village of people. So very proud to be a part of that team. As you tour the district, you would see that many creative ways our students were welcomed back. There were balloon arches and DJs, welcome signs, kits with supplies in them, and really every single site I felt that same vibe. I didn't want to jinx it by saying certain words about how well it was going, but it really was a sense of this is right. And so, you know, I tip my hat to those students, to our families for all that they've endured, for our teachers. I've been into so many classrooms and watched them do things that some people say can't be done, and use the tools, work through some of the frustrations, and really deliver something that we can be proud of. So many teachers were so happy to show off what they were doing. We take pictures and document just the amazing work. And so up and down this district, I'm so proud of our secondary sites, our secondary students, their families, and most importantly, that we're all working together to get kids where they belong. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Jeff. And I think your observations, and Scott's too, are just dead on. And Dr. Washer, the word that you came back with was joy. The joy on our campuses. It was long overdue. And we know that this doesn't happen with someone behind the scenes paying the bills and making sure that the power bill is paid and taken care of. So Mr. Khan, what does business services got to say about this?
Thank you, President Freitas. Thank you, members of the board. Thank you, Dr. Washer. Just for the opportunity to speak tonight, but also I think Mr. Palmquist's comment about a village. Thank you for creating the village that the board and their superintendent have created. Joy is an apt description, the sound of children laughing and playing again. But from the business services side, I can't be more thankful for the group that I am pleased to and able to work with on a daily basis. Many of you have seen the documents that constantly change on our COVID-19 page. I am the source of most of those documents. I cannot believe the number of times I have reversed direction throughout the last 12 months. And every moment I expect a principal, assistant principal, a teacher, a business director to say, what are you doing? And yet all I've ever received is thank you for doing this. And then they plug away. And I've been to almost 20 sites in the last 3 school days. I can't believe how well organized the classrooms are. I can't believe the tape all over the place. I can't believe the food service. I look at some of the things that Dr. Washer mentioned that food service is struggling with, the supply chain delivery issues. Yet I think the report out of Mr. McGregor and the compliments that Nancy and her team received last Friday's principals meeting was touching. I think of Cricket Cook and her team and all of the PPE and all of the product that not only has been procured but delivered. I haven't heard anybody run out of masks, anybody run out of gloves, anybody run out of hand sanitizer. I go to watch play structures. The kids get the squirt from the teacher, get on the play structure, get off, get the squirt. I watched a classroom of children going into a Nichols classroom. Everybody gets their squirt. Mr. Holloway and his team getting the district Clorox 360, getting picnic tables delivered. Just a phenomenal effort. Annette Galindo and her transportation team. The board may not realize this, but everybody is driving multiple routes. All of your dispatchers are driving, your director's driving, all of your drivers are driving. Paras and some of the bus attendants are driving vans, and kids are getting to school. It's interesting to note that ridership was kind of light last week, but it is building strongly now. I spoke to Miss Streeter and a few other principals this week. It sounds like kids are seeing other kids in the classrooms together and they're coming back. Technology. We had a firewall glitch. I understand that caused stress, but to think of the massive amounts of data that's flowing back and forth out of our servers. Accounting, we never talk about accounting. The number of time cards that are coming through. Budgeting, all the extra 120s for Mr. Palmquist's high school classes, all the CARES money that Dr. Solly and Dr. Saya are paying out to school sites. I guess I could go on and on. I can't forget who I've forgotten. But I don't think this, as Dr. Washer mentioned earlier before, this board and the superintendent put this team together. I've been honored to watch it work at one of the most critical stages in all of humanity's history. And I'm pleased to confirm that your district's functioning on an extremely high level. And thank you for bringing us all back.
Well, thank you all three for those great reports. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. I am so honored to be serving on a board that is this courageous and took this stance and made this happen. When we're still hearing about schools making plans to open, Mr. Khan, I heard that Sac City has just canceled their bus service, finding it to be too impossible to carry forward. And I think something that you said is that the building of ridership. I think our product is so good that we've seen people that said we're going to wait and see, said we've seen enough, and they're enjoying our campuses. And that speaks quite a bit about all that we've accomplished. So we would like to recognize tonight every single one, and thank you all three for those excellent reports, and Dr. Washer. We like to recognize each of our groups, bargaining groups, employee groups, for the amazing job that they did. Every single one of you contributed to this, and every single member of your organization did. And I think Mr. Khan and Mr. Palmquist, Mr. McGregor also kind of said the same thing. We tasked each and every one of you with doing more, and you never complained, and you just went and you took it on and said, what else can I do? And Mr. Neely, you said a very long time ago that this was going to be about attitude, and it definitely was attitude. And I saw that can-do attitude of Lodi Unified, and that spoke monuments. And one of the things, we have Randy Cordovez from CSEA on today. I saw 800 stars that were painted over the weekend on a playground at Larson Elementary School that were 3 feet apart, so that students knew where to do this, and that was painted by a school custodian at the request of his teacher. And I got to tell you, all the campuses I went to on Monday, every single one introduced me to the custodian, and they said they couldn't have done it without them. And I would like to thank CSEA, Randy, and all of your employees for the amazing job that they did. Randy, you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, President Freitas and board, and Kathy Washer, for all the comments that you made, and I'd be happily to accept it.
Well, I got to tell you, the behind the scenes setting up, the food services, everything that your members did was absolutely outstanding. And, you know, there's so many different jobs on these campuses, and what members of your family did, we can't thank you enough. And if there's any way we can help them do their job better, you be sure to let us know. Okay, Randy?
Thank you. I will.
Valerie McPhee, co-chair of the Confidential Employees Group. Hi, Valerie. I know Valerie's
Hello.
a little shy.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. We would like to thank all the members of the Confidential Employees Group for the great job and what they did in opening our schools.
Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of the confidential unit, I thank you for the recognition. And I advise you that our unit members look forward to continued support of board goals and administrative directives to support the district during these challenging times and beyond. So we're here for you.
You know, you definitely are. And not only were you here figuratively, you were here literally. And I know that when many of our campuses were closed, the confidential group was still here at the district getting a whole bunch done behind the scenes. And we appreciate you then, we appreciate you now, and we couldn't have done it without you and your members. So please thank your members from the board.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Michelle Oregon, President Lodi Education Association, LEA. Hi, Michelle.
Good evening, President Freitas, members of the board.
I got to tell you, the classrooms that I went into Monday, I was so excited. The teachers were so thrilled to be there. There were glitches, but they were working through them. And I got to tell you, the excitement in the children's eyes, seeing their teachers for the first time face to face, just meant so much. So please thank the teachers for us.
Thank you, and we do appreciate the recognition of their hard work over this past year and changing up how they did things and how their classes changed. And as Mr. Palmquist indicated, the massive amounts of changes for some students and what classes they were taking, and how flexible students were by contacting their teachers to talk about those changes. And we hope with this recognition that there's continued encouragement for all employees to bring forward any issues as we have returned to live in person, and that we continue to be solution oriented for both students receiving instruction live and remotely, whatever their parents and families feel is best for them, and that schools are safe to return, and due to everybody. Thank you.
Well, I got to tell you, Michelle, thank you very, very much. And please thank all the teachers for the amazing job they did. And I very much enjoyed seeing them on Monday. And I know our parents and our kids and everyone in the Lodi family wants to recognize them for the amazing job of getting our schools back open. And like you said, how flexible and how amazing they've been over the last year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Blount, President of the Lodi Pupil Personnel Association. Dean, thank you to all the members of your group for the amazing job that they did.
Well, thank you, President Freitas. How are you guys doing this evening?
Very good.
Awesome. Well, thanks, President Freitas, Dr. Washer, members of the board. We appreciate the recognition. We in LPPA realize that it does take a whole community or a whole village to raise a child, to weather a storm, and to weather a pandemic. In going through this last year with you, with all of us, I find some parallels to my last 22 years as a school psychologist, working with students and parents in special education. As a team, we go through highs, we go through lows, we see success, we experience defeat, we work hard together, we agree, we disagree. We often advocate different perspectives and courses of action, but always for the same cause. And in the end, the struggle makes us strong and stronger together. I know that we have a lot of work ahead of us. I know that we're not through all of this. I know there's a lot to do still. But I know I know that we can count on you, and I know that you can count on LPPA, our school counselors, elementary, middle, and high school, our speech and language pathologists, school nurses, program specialists, and of course, school psychologists, along with my group. So we're there for you, and we really appreciate the recognition for this last year. And it's been tough, but we're gonna keep plugging forward, and anything else that comes our way, I think we've got it.
I couldn't agree more, Dean. Thank you very, very much. And please thank everyone from LPPA. And that's very well said. The struggle does make us stronger. and it does give us an opportunity to shine. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Ron. Have a good evening.
You too. Representing the president of Lodi Unified School District Administrators Association, we have Principal Eric Sandstrom from Tokay High. Hi, Eric.
Good evening, President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Yes, thank you. I know on behalf of our administrators throughout the district, we really appreciate it. It's definitely the team effort. I know that our administrative team throughout the district really appreciated Dr. Washer's words yesterday at our leadership meeting, our big Zoom session with all of our administrators on. It's not just a site administrative effort, even though, yes, as a site administrator, I see that part of it daily, but our administrative group, working with our folks in M&O and purchasing, making sure we've got stuff through the print shop with enough circles or dots to place down to create lines in our cafeteria to keep everyone properly spaced, getting enough tables outdoors, additional picnic tables purchased and then built, literally assembled and put out at all of our school sites so we have more seating for our students, working with transportation on different busing issues and challenges, working with folks to creating the bell schedules and inputting all of that. It definitely is a huge team effort to get everything back up and going again, and especially in a different format than I'll say normal. Hopefully it'll be normal again sometime. But the administrative group really appreciates it. And again, that's to me district-wide, not just our school sites, but our district administrators at the district office and our various locales, like I said, M&O, purchasing, print shop, our food services. It's a huge team effort. We really do appreciate it. And we appreciate the recognition from Lodi Unified and working with a great group of folks.
Well, it's you and all the groups, Eric. It's very, very well deserved. And thank you very, very much. And representing the Lodi Unified Supervisors Group, we have the president, Cindy Oliver. Cindy?
Members of the board and Dr. Washer, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the group for this recognition. We very much appreciate it. We probably started working on this 13 months ago when school didn't open, but just dish it out to us. And I think that we all have a can-do attitude and we take care of whatever needs done to get the students back in class. And I mean, we're just thrilled that they're there. So I certainly will let our entire group know about this award and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And please do thank everyone in the group. Comments from the board on the recognitions and on the report item. I'm not done. That was the last one I had on my list. Oh, there's more in the presentation? Yes, Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas, members of the board. I'm sorry to interrupt your flow. Not quite done. I do want to also just give a huge thank you to our cabinet team. Without them, the direction, the leadership, the guidance wouldn't have happened. Every time we turned around, there was another issue at our feet. And our cabinet team members solved every issue, took it to heart, gave their heart and soul to this effort. So I just want to give a huge thank you to them and the leadership that they provided to their departments. One thing I do want to say to kind of sum up this portion of it, that I think sums it up anyway, is I was at a school site as they were welcoming students onto their grounds. And one staff member, I don't know what her role was, if she was a teacher or support staff, but was greeting students as they came by, and she saw one student that she obviously knew, called him by name and said, "I just want to give you a hug." And to me, that just summed up the whole thing. Just wanted to share that. So on to the next topic on this, Board of Education meetings. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, how to structure our meetings. We've been virtual, of course, but there is some opportunity if the board is interested in starting to allow public on a limited basis to join us in person. The Board of Supervisors started this. I think that they have a good model that you may want to look at. The guidance that the sector that we would fall under, and I did attach that to the agenda item, is the places of worship guidance. And we could use that in the red tier column, which means that we could open indoors with modifications at 25% capacity. So we could space chairs out. We could limit the number of people who come in. Obviously, we'd have to do that. Your seating would be a little different, of course. But if the board is interested in starting that, we certainly can do that. You can keep the virtual going a little bit longer since seating would be limited. That would be up to you as well. But please do remember that our next meeting is scheduled on the document to be held at Bear Creek High School. In the past, the board had wanted to do a couple meetings at Bear Creek to give others the opportunity to come to a meeting that could be closer to them. Of course, things have changed now. So also that may be something you want to consider is if you do have some public at the next meeting, if you want to continue to have it at Bear Creek, if you would prefer to keep it here, Bear Creek would allow for more public. It would be a larger space. It is, I think, a little bit inconvenient for a school site. I don't want to use the word inconvenient, but a little more taxing on a school site. Would be a little bit more work for folks to set up and clean up afterwards, especially with all the protocols in place and such. But that would be up to you. And Mr. Freitas, that is the end of my report.
That is the real end.
Yes.
I like the pretending. And thank you. I apologize for cutting off your presentation. And the recognition of the cabinet is very, very important. So comments from the board as to the opening of school, the report item, the recognitions, the meeting item. Mr. Connection.
There we go. Okay, thank you. I actually, Dr. Washer, I had a question. I was just kind of curious. Are there any other districts going back full time and there's a comparable? Am I not on yet? Come on. It's you. Yeah. Is there any other districts going back full time like Lodi is, or in our area, or about the same size?
Mr. Knackstedt, members of the board, most districts that are bringing students back are doing so on a hybrid model. Either the every day, the AB model that we had, yeah, or the morning afternoon model. So most districts are doing that. I do believe that there is one district that either has started or will soon start a full return, a district that did hybrid early on. But we are one of the few, I think, that has everybody back 5 days a week, full schedule all day.
Yeah, and that was my thought also. I just have anecdotal information that those districts that are using some sort of a hybrid model doesn't seem to be working very well. Even, and granted that they haven't been doing it long, but I think that this board made a really wise decision in going back full K-12 and just going right to rock and roll. I don't think the hybrid model, I'm just going by what I'm told by a few people, that it didn't seem to be working very well. So way to go, guys. Nobody talks about accounting, by the way, until the books don't balance. So thank you. Right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Freitas. Yeah, I am so pleased that we are going back, or we have gone back full time. One of the things that I've tried to do is to remind people the collateral damage that was happening to students. And I really believe from the bottom of my heart that this is the beginning of the repair of what everybody has gone through. This has not been easy for any of our employees. This has not been easy for our families. A lot of them had to make a lot of sacrifices. staying home from work to take care of their children or to whatever. Yeah, a lot of financial burden there. And no matter what you say about all of the changes and adjustments and flexibility of our employees and the families, the ones that really everything should have been focused on were our students. I mean, they are children, okay? We are the adults, they are the children. And I think we as adults worked very well in trying to get the children back and to take care of them. I always use a little quip that I heard is, if you can't take care of your children, what does that say about your society? And I really take that to heart. You know, in my career, you help people, you take care of people, and that's kind of our family's mantra. It's so fun when I took my grandson to school and they're all lining up and getting their temperature checked and all this. This one of the girls in line was just on her tiptoes. I mean, she was so excited and so happy to come back. And it was, they're just happy, and that's what needs to be done. And I think Dean Blount mentioned that there's a lot to do still, and yeah, there is, and it's going to take some time. But I really believe that with all of us working together, we will keep pushing and make things better and better and better for everyone involved in our district. So I'm very pleased with that. Thank you to everyone. Our bargaining groups, you know, thank you. It is, no one should be forgotten. Everyone is an important part of the wheel. Don't think you're not. And with that, again, I'll just simply say thank you very much. You deserve the recognition. I'm very proud of all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Haverly. Mr. Nava?
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Number one, I'd like to mention that I think we're better off meeting here than at Bear Creek. I know I wasn't a proponent on meeting in North Stockton at once in a while, but I think it's best during this pandemic time, we should stay here and accommodate whatever we have with the May 4th meeting with more people. That's only my personal opinion, but I think that we should allow them to come in. Thank to all the groups. My gosh, Scotty McGregor came in for a list about every people. He mentioned about 15 groups that are so helpful to the elementary school level, and I agree 100%. We had Mr. Freitas and I talked to one of the principals at McNair, Mark Dawson, and we talked to Hillary from Bear Creek. Actually, my question was, how many people are attending? That was very important to me. Mark told me 2/3 of the student body are attending now, and they are helping the ones that are distance learning. And then Hillary said there's about 1,100. There should be 1,300, but they're working on it to make sure that those kids are not left behind that are on distance learning. So I think that we're in the right direction. Again, every group is such an important part of what we do. It's just like, you know, having all these positions. When I coach football, I have all those positions, and you have all these assistant coaches on their specialty coaching those areas. And this is what Lodi Unified has. Those people that are responsible for these areas, your cabinet, your principals, your vice principals, your superintendents, all these people, business, the custodian, my gosh, important people. All these, I want to congratulate them for having such a success with this. I haven't heard any negative stuff. I did hear my granddaughter took her to class this morning, and we were talking about her classroom, and she mentioned, have you heard about owls, Papa? And I said, no, what's that? Oh, that's awesome. He said, Some people are teaching with the owl in the classroom, and it moves like you're in there with a group and everything. And I don't know anything about it because I'm not a tech guy, but but I was very impressed. And he says, does every teacher do that? He says, no, there's only about 3 that do it. And I wonder why the other ones don't. Is that all of them have it? Okay, they just don't use it. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Freitas.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Mr. Neely?
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. And by the way, Ms. Nava, that's just it's a learning curve right now. I actually hooked one of those up in my wife's classroom. It's a pretty amazing little device. Not only do you have the owl, but there's also a tripod that goes with that thing that you set up. You set the owl on it, plugs into the computer, and it just takes the place of a webcam. I called our tech services to walk me through setting it up in the classroom, and they did a great job. Back on a recognition here. This has been one of the most amazing things. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've seen some amazing things. I've seen, units move millions of dollars worth of equipment across oceans and all that kind of, this was amazing. And the can-do attitude that everybody had and the flexibility. I spent 2 afternoons, a Thursday and Friday before school started full time out at Creekside. And my main function there was arranging the classroom, because I'd done that before, right? So I put all the desks out there and arranged everything. And then the principal, and she is the best, let me tell you what, Yvette out there is just the best, comes in and says, yeah, there's too many desks in here. So, okay, we can change this again. So we changed it up again. And it took both days to finally get that thing set up. And that's what was going on all over. And the custodian there had such a great attitude, because I'd say, I need 8 more desks. He'd bring those desks over and we'd set them up. And then I'd have to call him back and say, I need to get 7 of those desks out of here. So all of that was going on, but everybody was goal oriented. They had that one thing in mind to get those kids back in class the best we could, and they did it. And I think that this recognition for the entire district on here is so well deserved. I mean, it's just amazing, and the great attitudes that I saw going around, teachers helping each other out, principals all over the place, business services. I talked to my schools. I went into the board member mode there for a while and called my schools and make sure, okay, what do you need? So they'd tell me a few things. Let me see if I can do that. So I'd call Leonard, and so we got it done. One of the principals was going to go get 4 cases of water. She said, because the kids are going to leave their water bottles at home kids got some of them. So we need cases of water here. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. So I called Leonard. She called me back a little bit later and said 4 cases of water were delivered to her school. So that's what was going on. People were just making things happen. And kudos to the entire staff. Everybody did a fantastic job on that. Thank you, Mr. Freitas.
Mr. Neely, I think that absence of the word no, there was no in this district on Monday. And people were asking and things were being done.
Yes.
And thank you for recognizing that. Mr. Porter, clerk of the board.
First of all, I want to touch a little bit on what Mr. Heverly said, because that's something I've always held very dear, is you judge a society or country by how well they treat their young and how well they treat their old. So I'm pleased that you brought that up. It brought back some of the things I've held dear throughout my career. The recognition is well deserved in all areas. And of course, me being a 38-year teacher, I just want to tell the teachers that they did an unbelievable job. They were able to, and I use the terms, stop on a nickel and give a dime. They gave a quarter. We had internet issues. We had a whole host of things go wrong for them. Things are coming down. Their lesson plans are lost in Google Docs. We don't use paper anymore. It was just a difficult day for them, but they would just move on a dime for that or a quarter, as I said, and get things going. That's the can-do attitude that I've heard from up here. So the teachers did an unbelievable job. They had internet issues. They were constantly being added students and dropping students and making contracts with students. I know that earlier we have recognized the vice principals, but the vice principals were throwing those things to the teachers. Hey, can you take some more DL students? Hey, can you change this schedule for Bobby? Hey, would you work with this student that's on DL or in Pakistan or in Mexico? And the teachers would have to work that out. It was left up to them. And so I couldn't do it. I, as most of you know me, don't have the temperament to handle that many things going on at once and be calm and cool, collected. I wouldn't be that way because I like things to be very linear. So to all the teachers out there, congratulations. You ought to be very proud of you. It's a profession that I hold very dear to myself. I'm very proud of being a teacher of 38 years, and you made it happen. And you made it happen for one of the most important parts of our society. That's the children. And that's the number one thing we're here for. Those DL students, we are your voice too. And for those students that don't have a collective group talking for you, this board is your voice as well. So for those that are voiceless, come to us and the board will work with you and help you and try to get success. And for our teachers, big congratulations. I am very proud of you. And I know that a lot of your work is unrecognized, but not by me. So thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Porter. Vice President McFarland.
Thank you, President Freitas. I'd like to lead with, I would like to have our meetings in person on May 4th. I would also like to keep them here at the district. I think as far as setup and the technology component of it, I would like to see the people in the departments that would normally go up and set up at Bear Creek. I think their time would be used to serve our classrooms. So I would like to keep it here. And I would also like to take us off virtual. I think if we're going to ask our teachers and our staff to be there 100% and give a kidney, so to speak, then we as board members need to put our money where our mouth is. And we need to be here and continue the YouTube and however we do it. But I think doing it virtually and taking comments virtually, I think if we're going to go back to our meetings, we need to go back to our meetings. Moving on, thank you. To all the departments, this is the first of many thank yous. I can't wait till our next round of thank yous and discussions when we have made it through 6 or 8 months from now, and we're not juggling schedules with DL. We have our distant learning academy will be up. The robotics academy will be there for you, but all of our students will be back in their classrooms, and this will be a distant memory. We will discuss what we do now for the learning loss mitigation and how do we get our students healthy and comfortable back in the classroom. And all of this will be distant. We'll have learned a lot and we'll be more prepared for the next crisis. So thank you to all the people who spent tireless hours planning, replanning, moaning when the state changed their mind. And to all those out there who thought that you've had a year, we heard this a lot as board, you've had a year to get it together. You've had a year to be ready. We had a year for our end goal. We had a year that our goal never changed, and that was to get our students back in the classroom. What we didn't have was a consistent path. The path went around the mountain, through the mountain, over the mountain, and it changed about every 4 or 5 days. The public might have seen what was on the news or what they heard from their friend or a coworker, but what they didn't hear was the hourly changes that Mr. Khan and Kathy and the cabinet was passing on to us. And so about the time the public was upset about a decision, we were already 2 problems ahead of that because it wasn't public yet, or it was public on the news and we had just finished making a plan for the previous problem. So thank you, cabinet, for your patience. I don't think I saw any of you crack. You all look a little tired that you might want to go home and take a long weekend. But I know most of you will not. And to the public, I don't think you realize how many hours these board members work. And I'm not taking anything away from nutrition services, our teachers, our site staff, custodians. These people have been working 7 days a week, about 21 hours a day. And if you don't believe me, you should see our emails because we're getting them at 3 in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. Weekends. And so thank you for your diligence to the students, because when it really comes down to it, we have jobs and we do what we do because we have students that need to be educated. and a district that needs to run. So thank you to all the departments, and basically our cabinet also, and the board. Thank you.
Well, thank you, board, for those wonderful comments and those recognitions. My day on the 12th started very early on McNair campus at about 7 a.m. with about 400 freshmen who didn't know where their class was. And if you think about it, there was a first day of school on campus for 400 freshmen, and wide-eyed, enthusiastic, and patient, and step by step, and it got to the point where I actually knew the directions because they were freshmen. I knew where to send them, and but kudos to McNair for welcoming the students, and like Mr. Porter said, the patience of everybody and the flexibility went on, and then the outstanding attitude that we saw from everybody throughout the day. And what was the biggest complaint of kids on the playground? That their legs hurt. Now, right? Mr. Knack said the athletic director and track coach knew that these kids had been on a couch too long and had not been out on a playground. So if that didn't reinforce the amazing thing that we were doing, I would get finished with one campus visit, and it was just so filled with what I did, I couldn't leave any of my campuses out. And you just felt compelled to see everyone and thank them for what we did. And no small feat, also the parents. Thank you for your faith in us, for knowing that we would get this done, for being there, getting your kids back in school, and trusting us with this, because I know none of us does this to get rich. None of us does this for accolades, but we sure do this because we care about our community, like Mr. Everly said. I was always raised with giving back. I know all of my board members were raised with that. And how we treat our kids and what we do for our kids is very, very important in the opportunities. And I think that's why Lodi Unified will always be an educational destination. So and Dr. Washer and everyone recognized today, sounds like we need to have some in-person graduation. So just when you figure out the meaning of life, we're going to throw another problem at you. So this is a report item. We do have public comments. So Mrs. Armstrong, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have 3. And first up is Michelle Orgon.
Hey, Michelle, you have something to add?
Yes, I think just to the last point on the last page of the presentation, that we would hope that we would start in-person board meetings, and I would agree with the comments of keeping it at the district office rather than at Bear Creek for just energy and time saving at this point in time, but we look forward to that.
Very nice. Thank you, Michelle. Other comments?
Yes, next we have Brenda De La Torre.
Hi, Brenda.
It looks like Brenda is self-muted.
Brenda, could you check on that, please?
Brenda is no longer on the list.
Very good. All right. Mrs. Armstrong?
Next we have Stephanie Calixto.
Hi, Stephanie. You have some comments for tonight?
Stephanie's currently self-muted.
Okay.
Stephanie's now off of the list as well.
Very good. Mr. Neely.
Thank you,
Direct-
Mr. Curtis. Real quick, it just dawned on me that I didn't give my preference on that on the meeting also. I agree. In person back here, I know we have to restrict the number that we can do, that we can bring in. Possibly we can take some of our employee group leaders and guarantee them places here and staff that needs to be here and that kind of thing. And then the others are open for the public. So thank you, Mr. Freitas.
All right. With that, Dr. Washer, your team, they need to be recognized for the year that we put them through. And board, I recognize each and every one of you for your courage and your foresight and your stick to it of getting this done. So I know we spent a little bit longer than it's been my experience we have on recognitions, but I got to tell you, this was no small feat. This is the Lodi Unified Moon Landing, if there ever was one. So very nice job and congratulations, everyone. It was Mr. Freitas? Yes.
Thank you. I also wanted to concur that the meeting be held here. I think that it would be appropriate, seeing how we're going to be moved. I think having a specific location for our employee groups would be very appropriate. That way they feel involved with us and closer to the action, I guess. I also think that just like before the pandemic, there was an occupancy limit. And if it did go over that, they would have to wait outside. So this is, I see kind of the same thing. I think that if you want to address the board, you can always email us, or you could come to the meeting personally. I think I'm pretty much done with the digital thing. Thank you.
I'll weigh in too on that. Yeah, just on the, I want to do in person. I think it's time for our teachers to do that and our administrators, site administrators. My one question is we probably wouldn't need security just to enforce mask, distancing, and so forth, security. I don't know if you could set up a prompter outside off the YouTube and then have seating out there. That's up to you. Obviously, this room, of course, social distancing and the close employee groups. But I do recommend, or it's just a thought, that we do have security here to enforce mask wearing, social distancing, and so forth. That's just my thought, though. But I.
Yes, very good. So next on our agenda, we have comments from our student representatives. We have Haley S. Corpiso. Haley, I think I saw you and the Link crew out there helping those freshmen find their classes at McNair.
Hi, and you probably saw somebody else because I'm not in the crew.
Oh, okay.
But thank you, President Freitas, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. So we've had a few school activities and programs due to our return on campus. Just like President Freitas just mentioned, Link Crew held a freshman orientation, and freshmen actually got free shirts if they attended. So that was one of the good things that came out of that. Our Link Crew, conflict mediation, and student government are still working on our Eagle News project, where we're pretty much just making segments and videos on our social media about just different activities. One of the recent ones we had was like showing off videos of our pets, a video about time management with going back to school to help our students. We've had COVID updates in pretty much all of them, and then sport updates as well. And then speaking of sports, our football team, oh, sorry, I just wanted to congratulate our football team and our cheerleaders because they celebrated their senior night last Friday with our victory against Bear Creek. So congratulations to them on that. And then let's see what else. Our student gov, we're pretty much just working on revisiting our old ideas that we had before the pandemic, just to find alternatives to different activities like rallies or dances. But overall, with our return back on campus, I just wanted to say that our teachers and our staff have done a really, really good job on welcoming all of our students back and just making sure that we feel safe on campus. So thank you to them as well. And thank you to the board as well.
That's a very nice report, Haley. Mr. Nava?
Yes, Haley, you do have a large cheerleading squad. My gosh, this is the largest I've seen in the conference, I think. Besides, I think it was a first class operation on introduction of the senior players and the senior cheerleaders. So classy. I've never seen it done before because you generally come out of the goalpost and they call your name and that's it. But here you had some pictures and all the parents were there and whoever represented them were there. I want to tell you that we had a good entertainment with Aaron Ho, the player from McNair. You make sure that if you do you know Aaron?
Yes.
I tell him that we are really pleased with him. It was really entertaining, and he's a good football player. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Haley, they actually carried him off the field, and then 2 plays later, he ran he took a run for 60 yards for, I think, to the 5-yard line. So he was quite a sight, and he plays offense and defense, and he was one of the better players that we saw. And you know now this rivalry between Bear Creek and McNair has a name. That's correct, right? Did you hear this?
No, I actually haven't.
It's called the 8 Mile Bowl. So, and it's ongoing rivalry. So, and you know what? Excellent sportsmanship, I think, was shown by all in attendance, and we're very happy to see Bear Creek and McNair out there, and it was a wonderful night. So, Haley, great report. I know we kept you a little bit late. We're going to excuse you because we know you have to get ready for school tomorrow. And but before you go, I do have, how's your feeling about having in-person graduations?
It's been very interesting to say the least. The past couple of days, it has been a little bit stressful for me just because like before with distance learning, I had so much time to work. I have a small business too that I spend time on, but then returning back to school, it got very busy. So right now, I'm just trying to adjust to going back. But overall, it's just been interesting.
Very good, Haley. All right. Well, thank you for your report, and you have a nice evening.
Thank you, you guys too.
Thank you. Okay. Comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the board to address items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. Board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda. Mrs. Armstrong, do you have anybody who wants to speak to us tonight for public comment?
Yes, we have 9. First up is Michael Cazale.
Okay, so 9 at 3 minutes would put us at 30 minutes. That would be extending it by 20 minutes. So does the board have any objection to extending it 10 minutes so that we go 30 minutes tonight? Okay, we will go 30 minutes tonight, and we will take speakers until 9:30. Last speaker will start at 9:30, and we will go 3 minutes each. So very good. Who's first? Mrs. Armstrong?
Michael Kazale.
Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, President Freitas, and members of the board. I'm speaking on behalf of middle school department heads and would like to take this opportunity to once again remind you of the inequity that exists between elementary head teachers, high school department heads, and middle school department heads. My name is Michael Kazal, and I'm a former middle school department head. In light of our schools fully reopening, I'm continuing to bring forth concerns related to department head compensation. As school safety committees convene, they are missing the valuable input that department heads could provide, and school sites are facing challenges never seen before. Yet middle school department heads are not compensated. Yet elementary head teachers and high school department chairs are compensated for this work. This sends a clear message that middle schools don't warrant the same level of support and compensation. Yet the roles are similar or equal work to those of our elementary and high school counterparts. The 2017-2020 contract doesn't specify or delineate between middle and high school department head roles. Yet lack of compensation is based on a past precedent. How is this equitable? You have been given numerous examples of tasks that middle school department heads do, from planning department meetings to setting up agendas, being the link to administration, ordering supplies, helping to implement programs, to name a few. Our focus is keeping unity and fostering positive relations within our departments. With distance learning / in-person learning, we are fragmented, and not having the leadership of our department heads has prevented us from being stronger and cohesive units. In search of trying to further understand the parameters of department head compensation, I recently requested records from the district under the California Public Records Act. This formal request was sent to both Dr. Washer and Mr. McKilligan on April 9, 2021. I requested an opportunity to inspect or obtain copies of public records that pertain to the ratification of the 2010 collective bargaining agreement between LEA and Lodi Unified School District. I asked to see all copies / notes made in regards to changing contract language from the previous collective bargaining agreement to the revised collective bargaining of 2010. Specifically requesting information in all handwritten / electronic notes made regarding department head / chair compensation. I also sought where and how it was decided which department heads / chairs would be compensated. While a response was received from Dr. Washer on behalf of the district, it effectively said, "The district has conducted a diligent search for the records you requested. However, the district does not possess any handwritten / electronic notes regarding the ostensible changes to department head / chair compensation made during the negotiations of the 2010 collective bargaining agreement between the district and LEA. Accordingly, the district cannot provide any records responsive to your request." Based on this response, it is unclear as to why the contract is not being implemented as written. At this point in time, the former middle school department chairs are continuing to meet, and we are exploring all of our options to be fairly compensated in accordance with the contract. Thank you.
Okay, Michael. Thank you. Next, Mrs. Armstrong.
Next, we have Maria Smith.
Hi, Maria.
Hello. Good evening, Good evening, Dr. Washer, President Freitas, and board members. My name is Maria Smith, and I teach at John Muir Elementary. I want to begin by saying that although it's been an adjustment for myself and my students to retrain our bodies to use the restrooms only during our recess breaks, it's been wonderful getting a bit of normalcy back with seeing many of my students full days. I still have some concerns with technology. Last week, I had one student who went through 4 new Chromebooks in one day before she was given one where all the features worked properly. This week, that same student went through another 3 devices, again, because not all of the features were working correctly. Fingers crossed that when state testing comes, our site will have enough Chromebooks in reserve to handle any of these kinds of issues. I'd also like to thank Mr. Porter, who again sent out a personalized response of acknowledgement and support to another email I sent to all board members last week. Mr. Konexak, thanks for the received thank you message that you sent to that same email. That being said, I am here to ask that you come to mediation on April 26th and do the right thing. In the district's budget, you have $9 million set aside to recruit and retain great teachers. Let's talk about the recruit part of that statement. You say enrollment is down. You say we need to have combo classes, sometimes 3 or 4 at one site. Well, if enrollment is down, then who do you need to recruit? Let's look at the second part of that statement. You want to retain or keep great teachers. Then you need to stand behind that statement. We are here. We are working harder than ever. You want to keep us? Then use that $9 million to give us COLA. Let's not forget you received money for COLA from the state. You decided to use that money elsewhere. Well, then you can decide to use some of the $9 million you have earmarked to recruit and retain great teachers to do the right thing by the great teachers that you have. We have been working far too long without a current contract. You need to come to the negotiation table in good faith and do what's right. Resolve our 2019-2020 contract and give us COLA. Thank you for your time.
Very nice. Thank you, Maria. Who's next, Mrs. Armstrong?
Next is Lisa Wilkins.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome to our meeting.
Dr. Washer and members of the board, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great, thank you. I want to thank the district for coming to an agreement on the MOU to reopen schools. And as I have gone through this with my fellow teacher members of Lodi Education Association, I do hope that we get that ratified soon. As was previously stated, we have mediation to resolve our 2019-2020 contract coming up. And one big glaring gap that I see in Lodi Unified's budget compared to other budgets across the state is how much Lodi Unified pays for personnel costs. Even the School Services of California, which Lodi Unified pays a lot of money to consult to as a school district, states that personnel costs should be 85 to 90% of local discretionary budget. However, Lodi Unified spends 75 to 80%. That's a glaring gap. No wonder every time I look at personnel matters, when I look at the school board meeting agenda, I see several teachers retiring or leaving. Believe me, we are getting recruited by other school districts. Not a year goes by when I don't get a call from somebody that I know at another school district who says, come work for us. We'll take all of your, especially science and math teachers and special ed teachers. We'll take your years, we'll give you more money, and oh, by the way, we pay more towards health costs. If you truly want to honor the teachers, as you did at the beginning of this meeting, honor them by showing them that they are worth the money that they pay for, that other school districts are paying. Pay them money so that we can stay and live in this school district. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Lisa. Mrs. Armstrong, who's next?
Next, we have Elizabeth Ng.
Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome to the meeting.
Hello. Thank
Hello.
you. Nice to speak to you again. I have a couple of issues that I wanted to address. The first is the contract for the teachers. I've spoken to you about this before. It is, as I said, a $16,000 difference for me to be here in Lodi versus Stockton. And like we discussed earlier, it's the students and the amazing parents and the wonderful interactions that have kept me in Lodi. But it is a very hard situation that we're being put in at this point when we know that 15 minutes down the road is a $16,000 a year difference. Respect shows in our paychecks as well. And we greatly, greatly appreciate the support at the beginning of the meeting. That means a huge amount to us. We ask that that carry over into the negotiations and that that respect be shown to us and the ability to pay our bills. I have some comments and questions that have come from students, and I know that you're unable to respond, but I just wanted to put those out there. The students are wondering, are they going to get to have an in-person graduation? It sounds like things are starting to move in that direction. They're wanting to know if they're going to get to have some kind of prom. Are they going to get to have some kind of end of the year rally? And I know that those are tough situations, but I think with some creative thinking that we could pull some of these things off for students. And I think that that needs to be addressed. Oftentimes our students come up with the best solutions. And I think that to overlook their input is not a great place to go. And that was one of the things that came forward. And I survey my students on a regular basis and ask them, what are you thinking? What are you concerned about? What can I help you guys out with? And one of the things that came out of that was there was no survey sent from the district in regards to how they felt about the return to school. And they felt very overlooked. These are students who are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. They are right there on the cusp of taking over as adults. They have amazing ideas. Their brains click faster than a lot of us, and we need their input. They think of solutions that would never occur to us as adults. So I urge you to reach out to the students. The issue with getting meals out to students and the lack of distribution sites, it occurred to me earlier when that was brought up that we're looking internally and perhaps we need to look externally. There are many community organizations such as Meals on Wheels that might be willing to get involved because these are students that are at risk and their families are oftentimes without food. So I would suggest that the school district look at partnering with some of our community organizations. We all know that we do better if we have more
Elizabeth,
people working
I'm
together.
going to have to stop you there. We have a lot of people that are in line. Please feel free to email the board if any comments that you weren't able to address tonight. So, Mrs. Armstrong, who's next?
Next, we have Rebecca Bratcher.
Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to the meeting.
Rebecca is currently muted.
There we go.
Excellent.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Porter for his email that he sent on Wednesday. It provided me with the encouragement I needed in that moment. It was nice to have a personalized email sent directly to me. I also want to thank the district for bringing an MOU to the table that is respectful to the teachers and but I have two questions. When will that respect be shown in our 2019-2020 contract? And second, when will we see some respect to our STC classrooms? A few months ago, the board bought books for all the classrooms, and the books were delivered and the librarians were set to sort them. And they were told, don't give any to the STC. I thought maybe they had gone and individualized books for us. No, we didn't get any. So while my peers have new books for their students and are reading books, I personally, my students are only personally reading my books that I've personally acquired. And these books are well loved but are the same that they've had before. Unlike most gen ed teachers, I have my students for 3 years. I was excited that we were going to get some new reading books, but I was told those books didn't get ordered for STC because you didn't know what levels to get us. And since you've received more funds, will you please consider buying STC some books? We will tell you what we want. Once again, please show the same respect for the contract as you have for the MOU. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Rebecca. Who's next? Ms. Armstrong.
Next, we have Christy Daughtry.
Hi, Christy. Welcome to the meeting.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I'll be quick because I have an insane amount of work getting ready because in-person and distance learning takes way more prep than you would believe.
Yes.
I want to remind you, like many of my peers, that your employees deserve a fair contract and a competitive wage. The district should be spending its income on providing services to current students, not building its reserves like a bank. If you truly do want to be the employer of choice for highly qualified and creative people who reflect, value, and celebrate the rich diversity of the district, like it says in the district's mission statement, you need to show it. And you show it by providing a fair contract and competitive compensation and benefits to your employees. The people providing services to students every single day deserve it in all of the bargaining groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Who's next, Mrs. Armstrong?
Next, we have Lana Gentry.
Hi, Lana. Welcome to our meeting.
Hi there. How you doing?
Very good. How about you?
Good. Excellent. Okay, so good evening, President Freitas, Dr. Washer, and members of the school board. I enjoyed hearing the recognitions of our students, parents, and all of our groups and organizations and all the good stuff that was happening on. I have 2 more groups and 1 person that I want to acknowledge. So the first group, please recognize and acknowledge your teachers by settling our 2019-2020 contract. You receive the 3% COLA, which equals approximately $4.5 million. The district has $9 million in reserves to recruit.
Do we lose her? No?
It looks like Lana is self-muted.
Lana, I think you muted yourself.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't either.
Like I was muted. So do I need to start over or was it all dropped?
No, it was just like the last 2 seconds.
Okay, so I just wanted to add that legally districts are only required to keep 3%. So what are we saving the money for? Then the second thing is, the second group I'd like to recognize, our schools cannot run without CSEA. They are also working harder than ever. I'd like you to acknowledge and recognize them by increasing their wages. I have seen the job postings and saw a clerical position for $14 per hour. That is minimum wage. And these employees are keeping our offices working and handling confidential student information. They are worth so much more than minimum wage. It's important to recruit and retain our classified employees also. And finally, I want to acknowledge and recognize Bob Ramos from M&O. He works in the heating and air vac system. I'm not sure what the title is. But he worked so hard fixing the air conditioning and heating and airflow in the A buildings at Bear Creek High School. He is professional and friendly and hardworking. Our classrooms, and we've been in there for 10 years, we're no longer sweating in there. I'm not bringing in fans that I've purchased. It's not muggy. We don't have condensation on our windows anymore. The airflow and circulation is refreshing, clean, safe, and makes my life a whole lot comfortable. And I don't have to listen to students coming in and telling me all day, it's hot in here, and me saying, I know, I'm here all day. And if I could, I would, because I don't know the process, but I'm sure I cannot. I would like to nominate Bob Ramos as one of the many CSA Employees of the Year. And so I thank you very much. And I hope whoever is Bob's boss, you know, gives him an attaboy. You're working
Thank you,
hard,
Lana,
you're doing
and we'll
well.
be sure that Bob gets some recognition. And thank you, Bob, for making Lana's and all of our students' lives much more comfortable. Ms. Armstrong, who's next?
Next, we have Jen Vasquez.
Hi, Jen. Welcome to the meeting.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jen Vasquez, and I teach second grade at Ansel Adams. I would first like to start by acknowledging Mr. Porter's recognition of the hard work that teachers have done and the appreciation he always shows and the support he gives us. I would also like to acknowledge the recent positive steps taken to recognize the challenges teachers face with teaching in person and distance learners. I am hopeful that if the MOU is ratified, it will be honored this time, as the last one was ignored when it became financially in the district's interest to break it. As the hard work on mediation for our contract continues on April 26th, I hope that a permanent increase on the salary schedule will be I can't think of the word I want right now, on the table. Use the $9 million that is budgeted to retain your teachers in the district now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And Ms. Armstrong, who's next?
Last, we have Kimberly Freeberg.
Hi, Kimberly. Welcome to our meeting.
Good evening, President Freitas, members of the board, and Superintendent Washer. I want to comment on the opening the meeting up to the public and being done with technology for your meetings. You have many teachers that are doing in-person and virtual at the same time. I have 13 students in person and 7 distance learners. I think with a diminished capacity, keeping it in person in this manner and in this manner would be the best way to accommodate everyone. You encourage people to email, but I've sent at least 10 emails to each of you in the last few weeks, and I've only heard back from one member of the board with the following words every time: received and noted, thank you. It doesn't seem like emails are received and consciously responded to on their content. Thank you for your compliments of teachers on the full return of opening. As we know, it's been very difficult, but giving us our COLA you received for the 2019-2020 school year would be a much better way to thank us, as well as showing us some respect. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Kimberly. Have a nice evening yourself. Any other comments from the public, Mrs. Armstrong?
No further comments.
Excellent. Moving on to consent agenda A. Does any board members wish to pull any items from consent agenda A routine business? Item 2, Mr. Porter. Any items wish to be pulled by the public, Mrs. Armstrong?
No items.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the rest of routine agenda A.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, for your motion. Thank you, Vice President McFarland, for your second. We have no students to vote, so go ahead and we will do a voice vote. And that's Mr. Knackstead. Aye. Mr. Haberly.
Aye.
Mr. Neely.
Aye.
Mr. Nava.
Aye.
Clerk of the board, Mr. Porter. Aye. Vice President McFarland.
Aye.
I vote aye. The balance of consent agenda A passes 7-0. Mr. Porter, item A2, the contracts list.
Go to the, there we go. I'm sorry. Oh, microphone. Thank you. Ms. Armstrong.
How's that? Okay. I was looking at the Lorenzo Smith attorneys at law. You have $239,000 there, Mr. Khan.
Yes, sir. I'll defer to Mr. Warren on this. Lozano is a special ed,
Well,
term it.
this is a general question, and I sent you an email earlier this week. I'm getting background.
Okay.
Somebody, I asked about Kingsley Bogard, their prices, and you sent me all the information.
Mhm.
And you said that we have been with them since 1970. And I think if we add in this total of 239 and the projected of what we think we'll get with Kingsley Bogard, we'll be at about 550 for legal, just on
Sounds
those
correct.
two sets of attorneys. And then I did some sleuthing around at other school districts. And it appears that most of the legal, not just most, but all the legal entities that are undertaken by school districts, their contract comes up every year for approval by the board. And your email to me, you said that that hasn't been happening. We only play by warrant. I'm getting a big echo from something. So I don't know who's open. Okay. My point is, do you think we should look at every year as good business sense what these people do for us? And I'm not saying what they do is bad. I'm saying, shouldn't we open it up to see what type of services they provide and who might want our services and what they can provide? And I'm not talking about hourly rate or things like that, but to have a legal firm in business with us for over 40 years, and I'm talking about Bogard and Kinsley, and if we've never looked at the contract or looked at other sources, and I know you're new to the district, just kind of boggles my mind because everybody in the business world is up for renewal every year. Why would we not do the same thing with our legal services?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Porter. That does seem to be beyond what this is which is simply approving this $27,000.
Well, I'm asking.
You are asking the board to change policy, and that is duly noted, but it is not what's on this item at this time.
Okay, I was just curious about the amendment and the warrant policy of paying.
And I do appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that up, and the board can address that at a later time. But right now, we do have this contract item in front of us, so.
So then can I put that on the agenda for next time?
We will look at the agenda and we will discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris.
Moving forward on the, what are the wishes of the board as to item?
Move to
18?
approve. Move to approve. Oh, second.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Knackstead, for your second. And we'll go ahead with the voice vote. Oh, I'm sorry, comments from the public? There are none. And Mr. Knackstead?
Aye.
Mr. Heberly?
Aye.
Mr. Neely?
Aye.
Mr. Nava?
Aye.
Clerk of the board, Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Vice President McFarland?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Item A2 passes 7-0. Consent agenda B, student discipline cases. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda B.
Thank you, Mr. Nav, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your second. Students now vote on this matter. No comments from the public, so we will go ahead and carry out the vote. Mr. Knackstead?
Aye.
Mr. Heberly?
Aye.
Mr. Neely?
Aye.
Mr. Nava?
Aye.
Clerk of the board, Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Vice President McFarland?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Student discipline cases pass 7-0. Other action items. Item OAI1 5.504 Data Management Program. Frontline. Dr. Washer?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We are bringing you a rather time-sensitive issue. That's why it's showing up in this manner tonight, about a compliance issue that we can solve and work on with a data management program. This has to do with our students who are on 504 plans and making sure that we're tracking appropriately, keeping the appropriate data, and servicing students appropriately. And Mr. Warren is available to give you a quick presentation and answer any questions.
Well, that was pretty much my presentation. So just in a nutshell, it's an electronic database that would enable us to consolidate all of that student data, to be able to track it. It would be able to populate the forms. It would be a lot like the SACE program that's used in special education, but it would be for our 504 students. And it would help us with 504 compliance. And one of the CDE guidelines that we're required to do as part of our CCIS plan, this is one of the things that we're working on to improve the way we provide these services and monitor these services. Are there any questions?
Any questions, any comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approved item OAI1.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. And before that, do we have any comments from the public? There are no comments from the public. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your second. No comments from the public. We will go ahead and carry out the vote. Mr. Knackstead?
Aye.
Mr. Heberly?
Aye.
Mr. Neely?
Aye.
Mr. Nava?
Aye.
Clerk Porter? Vice President McFarland?
Aye.
I vote aye. Item OAI1 carries 7-0. Personnel matters. Mr. McKilligan.
Mr. President, matters are
Move to approve. All right. Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Knackstead, for your second. Any comments from the public? No comments from the public. We'll go ahead and carry out the vote. Mr. Knackstead?
Aye.
Mr. Heberly?
Aye.
Mr. Neely?
Aye.
Mr. Nava?
Aye.
Clerk of the board, Mr. Porter? Vice President McFarland?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Personnel matters pass 7-0. We have two additional report items. These are the Lcap, Dr. Sally, and the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant stakeholder input, also with Dr. Sally. If there's no objection with the board, these will be continued to a study session, which I believe is tentatively penciled in for May 18th. So unless there's any questions that need to be addressed tonight, we will move on, though. They are on our agenda, so they would have to take public comment. So is there any public comment as to these items? In light of the study session that will be.
Yes, I have a Michelle Orgon and a Mira Lowry. So.
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you, President Freitas. If I understood what you just moved, the two items, the LCAP and the
Grant, yes.
thank you. The accountability grant will be moved to May 18th.
Right, and they will be the only two items at this time for a study session.
Okay.
It makes sense since they appear to be part and parcel financially.
Thank you. We'll reserve comments for then. We certainly would hope to ask that maybe more input could be gained on the accountability piece in the meantime from, as we heard tonight, maybe students and some things that teachers brought up tonight. So I noticed that there was only 48 employees that gave input. Maybe we could do another round to give more input. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Other comments from the public, Mrs. Armstrong?
Yes, Mira Lowry.
Hi, Mira. Welcome to tonight's meeting. I think you had it there for a second, Mira.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and wait for the study session.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Mira.
Mhm.
Very good. There's nothing else, and that will conclude our report session for the night. We have communications for our employee groups. Mrs. Armstrong, does any of our employee groups wish to address us tonight?
Yes, I have two. Randy Cordovas is first up.
Hi, Randy. Welcome back.
Hi, President Friedis, board members, and Superintendent Kathy Washer. I just wanted to advise you all that our unit members are experiencing anxiety due to increased workloads, and that we are all doing the best to keep up. So I ask you guys to consider compensating us with the extra funds that you receive and to show respect for our efforts this spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Have a great evening. And Mrs. Armstrong, who's next?
Next, we have Michelle Orgon.
Okay, Michelle, you're up.
Thank you, President Freitas. Respect matters, safety matters, agreements matter, words matter, and actions matter. Teachers have worked hard over the last school year, and especially the last couple of weeks, when many felt that the rug was pulled out from under them and a thorough plan was not in place before they started with students. I ask you, how do we plan to rebuild this trust we feel is lost? How do we restore the collaborative spirit between teachers, administrators, and school board, between all of our labor partners that have been built up for over the last few years, seem to have been lost this year through actions and lack of collaboration? It took time to come to an agreement on our November MOU, and we feel that the district should have negotiated the terms once they felt that they had been changed. That is the language in the MOU. That should have done before imposing action. How do you plan to live up to the values you have compromised over the past few weeks? This is a district that receives lots of money to provide for many different students in our district. We are quite upset that we are hearing that money to provide meals for students, whether they are live or still on distant learning, should be met. We need to make sure that we are reducing the food insecurity that students face. We simply need to do better for all students. We appreciate that there is an additional site for food services to distribute food at McNair, but do not feel right now that that is enough. We should not hear even one student or family say that they will have to go without food because they cannot have the means to get to the destination to pick up the food. In addition, in the haste of this reopening, we have also seen equity of our students compromised. This is seen in these student meals. Why do teachers notice this? Because their parents are asking them what to do. There was no clear communication as to who was supposed to fill out the form to fill out for food services. There was something online on the website, but as you know, not all of our families are on the website and have access on a daily basis. Because teachers put students first, and your message has been to put students first, we need to have and continue with the can-do attitude to provide these meals for all of our students. Teachers are experts on who their students are, and we need to make sure that you are asking the questions as to who needs those services. As an employer with rights and agreements, we hope that you respect us as the experts on our students and in our classrooms. I implore you to please put resources into making sure that no student goes hungry, that no parent is faced with considering no food, because they don't feel right now it is safe for their student to return safely on campus. I would ask you to also continue to educate all students, employees on how to get tested through the district and the availability and when they should stay home, and that we are sympathetic to students coming to school. We need to make sure that we follow through with the safety plan that is put in place. We have heard several times that students who have symptoms have been allowed to come back the next day without waiting. We must adhere to the safety plans that have been submitted. We need to be diligent in following these plans to keep our classrooms, our classes, and our staff safe. Please make sure that we are doing the best we can do to educate all students. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Michelle. You have a nice evening. Comments from board members. Any board members have any comments for tonight that haven't already been addressed? Yes, Mr. Neely.
Dr. Washer, I'm just going to ask you again. I saw you writing notes. I want to make sure we work on this. Is reevaluate the assignment of our VPs. Right now, for those you don't know, we do it by number, and we have such a diverse workload that we ought to look at that a little bit more, and also this concept of having a part-time principal. We need to do something about that. That's really tough for these people to drive back and forth. And instead of learning the names of kids, 500 kids at one school, you know, they have to do it on 2 schools. So if we could do something about that, it'd be great. That's all I've got, Mr. Freitas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Mr. Knaxton?
Yeah, I did not weigh in on the board meetings, but I do agree that even though I really appreciate and think it's a good idea to have the meetings at Bear Creek High School, we probably should put those on hold for the time being until we can get back full time probably. But we should also say we owe you a couple too, you know. And as far as having open meetings, I don't think that's a real good idea at this point. I think it would probably be okay to have our employee groups, maybe the presidents and that type of stuff here, but I kind of think it's going to be more of an issue for our staff to try and take temperatures and figure out a place to put people in a room that's already packed right now with what we have. So I think we probably should have public meetings put on hold until it can be done correctly. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Knaxton. Mr. Porter?
Yeah, I just have a real quick comment. I think as we move forward with this, and one thing the pandemic has shown us, it's horrible, the pandemic, of course, but it also brings out the areas that we're weak in. And I really think what we need to do is move from top-down decision-making, us versus them, and move more into the gray area where we're working together collaboratively. And in that avenue, you can be more successful as long as everybody buys into what's going on. So I really want to encourage that as we move forward. I know that during the pandemic, some of the things that we do badly has been exposed, and I think we can improve on that as we move forward as a board and as a group of individuals here working for our students. So thank you very much.
Any other comments from the board? All right. Further comments from the superintendent? All right. Any board advisory reports? Okay. Our next meeting. Mr. Porter. I got you. It appears that the direction of the board will be that we will not be at Bear Creek, and this disappoints me because Mr. Nava and I were very instrumental in making sure that we had meetings in Stockton. But I do see that it is very important that we do what's best for the district. And I think in this limited instance, we will not go to Bear Creek. We will be here. In what fashion we'll be here, I think will depend a lot upon what the tiers do, the public rules are, and what Mr. Neely, the side deal Mr. Neely makes. But I think it is the preference of the board that we do have a public meeting. And we do work in some way that we would maybe have the Neely hybrid meeting in a way that we can have comments from individuals that would be able to there. However, I, for one, if we have a public meeting, do not want to be wearing headphones. So I'm going to task staff with that we have a speaker type system so that we can do this. And if we have to wait a meeting or two to get this right, that would be my preference. But staff has done a million amazing things. I look forward to more amazing things. We will be here at our next meeting on May 4th, and we will see where we are and if we can accommodate the public. And Dr. Wash should be able to keep us informed in the meantime.
Absolutely. And I do apologize. I have one comment. I'm sorry. Because it was, we talked about.
Wait, I'm sorry. We've already passed it. So you'll have to. Okay.
10 seconds, I promise.
No, you can take all the time you like.
Because we talked about having a study session with those two items, I do want to share that we will put the grant item on the May 4th agenda as well. We are under a timeline for that one with the June 1 deadline, so it will be part of the study session, but also there will be information we need to share with you next time.
Okay, and if we could use it as a placeholder so that we can read the updated information and then approve it on the 18th or decide on the 18th and go forward. That would be enough time, Dr. Sali, I believe, to qualify for the grant, which I believe is June 1st.
June 1st, it needs to be approved by the board, submitted to the state, yes.
Very good. So I think with that timeline, the 4th and the 18th, we should be okay. Very good. Thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Washer. Any other comments from the board? All right, we are adjourned.
She took 50.
I think that was the longest.